On today's show, the Knicks get a clutch win down the stretch thanks to a player not getting enough attention so far this season. We'll talk about who and what on today's Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
And welcome. You're Locked On NBA Game Night. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everyday or making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. Get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me, as always, on a Monday night from Locked On Bucks. What'd you see in the NBA tonight, Camille Davis?
From all of the action we saw from this jam-packed one-game slate, the Knicks showed something though for this action-packed slate.
A jam-packed night in the association. A total of 121 points scored, or 221 points scored in the NBA tonight. One game on the docket. We'll talk about the Knicks getting a win against the Raptors. We'll talk about the Raptors side of it, where we get into Scotty Barnes, his injury. What does that mean for the team? We'll talk about their rebuild so far. Where do we think that team is going? We'll also play Count It Up, where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, including the Heat. Don't F with my boards, Camille. Don't mess with them. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about the NBA Cup and preview our two teams that are playing tomorrow. So we'll talk about that and more. Let's start right here. The Knicks get a win 113-108 against the Toronto Raptors. And this game came down to the wire for the Knicks. And it was a Raptors team that was already limited. No Bruce Brown, no Emmanuel Quickly. They've been out for a little while. Scotty Barnes went down with an injury as well in this game that was absolutely massive. He was playing really well, but with 6:47 left in the third quarter, he tries to come over and get a help block on Karl-Anthony Towns. Towns sort of collapses, and then he lands on Scotty Barnes' foot, and then Scotty Barnes is holding his foot down on the ground saying, I can't feel my foot. We'll talk about that later when we talk about the Raptors. But he leaves the game, doesn't come back. He limps to the locker room. Cat is also holding his right leg, but then he stays in the rest of the game and seems to be okay. But Towns down the stretch, I thought, or just in this game in general, was massive for the Knicks. He finishes the game with 24 points, hits 2 threes, 15 boards for him, which was huge. 6 assists through some wild passes, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He was a +10, the highest plus minus on anybody on the Knicks. And to me, and he hit the icer, a 3 with 6 seconds left, and then just starts pointing to the New York on his chest all around the arena. First of all, are you here for it, or is it a little too much and too corny for Cat?
No, listen, Cat's energy's been different since he's been a Knick. It's been a bit more like serious. I heard the commentator mention, I've seen people talking about it and watching him. It's like, yeah, he's playing with a lot more confidence. He is talking that talk. You can tell he's been getting that New York energy in his veins, but I'm here for it. I'd rather see Cat acting this way after playing well than him whining and complaining to the referees.
Fair, definitely fair. And he is right. They are New York. He's not wrong about them being New York, but clutch 3 there. He also got he had a wide open layup under the rim when Toronto doubled Brunson, and Cat just, instead of popping out, he had been popping, like screening and popping the whole game basically, and then he finally rolls, and then he gets a bucket right under the rim to make it 110-108 with 36 seconds left. That was a clutch shot there, and he also got he also got another shot earlier in the game. He made some really clutch plays, and I thought that it stood out. His game specifically stood out in this one, and it wasn't so much Brunson. Brunson got a heave 3 that was an and one on a ridiculous foul call with 3 minutes left, and then you got a Bridges 3 off of a Brunson Cat pick and pop, but it wasn't a lot of Brunson. It wasn't so much Brunson. It was Cat, and to me, Cat so far has been the better offensive player for the Knicks so far. Where do you stand on that?
He's been featured, and you can see why with how they play. Him and Brunson, they have great chemistry off top. And I think that's been also allowing Jalen Brunson to just be more of a point guard this season. He's averaging a career high in assists. You mentioned that beautiful pocket pass that he had to Cat late to put them up by 2. Then Cat had that last 3. So the last 5 Knicks points were from Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, he has been really big for them offensively. And he's also doing some cool things when he's able to kind of initiate the offense from the top of the key or from above the break. Just with his vision, like, I didn't know that he had some of that passing ability in him, because the assist numbers have never been great for Karl-Anthony Towns, but he has some interesting vision. And I think that this Knicks offense is so high powered right now because you have a Karl-Anthony Towns playing as well as you do. And then in this game, you even have Mikal Bridges knocking down some threes, and he has not been doing that consistently this year.
Yeah, all Knicks fans just said finally, right? He's shooting 31% from three coming into this, and then hits 5 of 8, including some really big ones in this one. You mentioned Cat's passing. He had a pass in the first quarter, like 9 minutes, where he was at the top, he was at the high post, and he threw an incredible pass to, like, one-handed across his body pass to Bridges to get a layup there. He had missed OG before, and it just highlighted to me that Cat on the high post with Brunson kind of roaming around, and then Bridges and OG just cutting, and Josh Hart cutting too. They just have so many options in this Knicks offense when you can play 5 out like that. With Cat playing as far out as he does, you can't leave him. You can't. I mean, he says that he's the greatest shooting big man of all time. I would disagree in a big way.
I see.
But 41 forever. But it gives you so many different options. That's why this Knicks offense is the best in the NBA so far.
Especially when you can generate easy points for some other guys who aren't necessarily known to be able to get their own shot, like an OG, like a Hart, like just being able to get them some easy buckets on cuts. And because you can see them with the passing is beautiful. And OG, that man made an impact defensively on this game. His first game in Toronto since the trade, since he was injured last season when they got back there in March, putting up career numbers offensively and defensively. He blocked 2 threes.
Yes, in a row.
Game. Like, what? And he had 2 blocked threes in like a game a couple of days ago too. Like, he had a clutch block down the stretch on RJ Barrett to help seal the game for the Knicks as well. Like, they just got a really good mix when everyone is playing well and when they don't start off slow like the Knicks did defensively in this game. But they locked in that second half.
They absolutely did. Yeah, they get contributions from everybody across the board. Now, they played everybody for a long time. They played Bridges 41 minutes, OG 41 minutes, Towns almost 36, Brunson 34, Josh Hart almost 32. I mean, they're playing these guys. It's classic Tibbs ball, playing these guys a lot. But they're like, it feels to me like if you try to compare them to some of the other best teams in the NBA, it feels like they're a couple players away, because you come off the bench. Miles McBride has been solid. Precious Achiuwa gives you some stuff. Cameron Payne talks a lot during the game, but he'll give you something. Just feels like they're missing one guy. Maybe it's just Mitchell Robinson.
That's what I was going to ask you.
And hopefully he'll come back, but it does feel like they're missing one guy.
Like, and maybe Mitchell is that guy. I think that once he gets back, it's going to make that rotation make even more sense for the Knicks. I'll be curious to see if Tibbs decides to cut anyone else's minutes or just extends that rotation out to a 9-man rotation for the Knicks. But Mitchell Robinson might be that missing piece for them, especially thinking about giving Cat some relief. But Precious Achiuwa, he had a pretty decent game for the Knicks tonight as well. So if you can kind of keep those minutes low, I don't think you want to rely on Precious for, 20, 25 minutes consistently. But I think in a combo with Mitchell Robinson, he'll do pretty good.
And we've seen Cat play the 4 with Gobert and play really successful. So he can play next to Mitchell Robinson if they decide to do that too. And so the Knicks, they started 5-6. They're 10-3 since then. They're back on track. It seems to be the Knicks that everybody kind of expected. Good for them. Good win in the clutch for them against a Raptors team that was hobbled. So coming up, let's talk about this Raptors team. The Scotty Barnes injury, what does it mean? But what do we think about them long term? Are the Raptors on the right course? Talk about that and more coming up.
Count it up.
Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. FanDuel Sportsbook has got the NBA Cup right now. My Dallas Mavericks, 4.5-point underdog against the Thunder in the first Cup game. Camille, your Milwaukee Bucks, a 7.5-point favorite against the Magic, who don't have their 2 best players. I feel like it should be higher than 7.5.
No, that moved because of the injuries. Before, I think it was like 4.5 before Franz went out. So I'm here for it. I'll take it.
Okay, he'll take the 7.5. So if you're feeling good about the 7.5, Mavs fans, if you think that the Mavs will win, then put some money on the money line. You can put down $5, and if you win that bet, you get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel.com, it's America's #1 sportsbook. It's also the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA. Being an everyday or listening every day, we have a daily Locked On show that covers your team every day. Check the link in the description to find a show that covers your team every day, like Locked On Bucks, like Locked On Mavs, all kinds of great stuff all throughout. We also have a daily newsletter for each of your teams as well, Locked On Daily. They're done by all of our Locked On hosts, so the local experts that know exactly what they're talking about, like Sean Woodley, who we'll hear from here in a second. I know he writes his every single day, and I know that he loves writing his every single day. Let's hear from Sean Woodley on the Raptors loss and what the Scotty Barnes injury is looking like.
Equal parts thrilling, encouraging, and upsetting for the Toronto Raptors, who drop a nail-biter to the New York Knicks on Monday, 113-108. And look, this game was going pretty well for the Raptors. They were in the lead in the third quarter when Scotty Barnes, in the midst of a stretch where he scored 8 quick points, had back-to-back threes, goes down with what looked like a really bad injury, getting tangled up with Karl-Anthony Towns. He was on the ground screaming, oh my God, I can't feel my foot. Not what you want to see. Although after the game, head coach Darko Rajakovic passed along that they did do x-rays and they were negative for Scotty Barnes, so that's good news. In the meantime, RJ Barrett took over down the stretch. He was fantastic. He had 30 points. The R stands for revenge, as he put up 30 against his old team and looked like he wanted to rip the throats out of every single New York Knicks player on the other side. He almost pushed this one over the finish line, couldn't quite get it done, as Karl-Anthony Towns had 5 big points down the stretch, a big wide open 3, and a finish underneath on a beautiful pass from Jalen Brunson. It's tough stuff. The Knicks are better than the Raptors when Scotty Barnes is healthy. When he's not there, it was always going to be difficult for the Raptors to close this one. Credit to them for nearly getting it over the line with Barrett. Jacoby Walter, a career-high 19 points, the best he's looked so far this season, knocking in some threes after he's been rough from downtown. It's going to be tough here for the Raptors going forward. They're 7-18, but they're like the most fun 7-18 team there ever was. Hopefully they can continue that if Scotty Barnes is set to miss some time.
Sean is such the guy that's like, hey, this team is terrible, but it's the type of basketball I like, and I can root for this team. And like, he'll probably have more fun in this season than a season where the team was great and he hated the type of basketball they're playing.
It's like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Those like rebuilding teams when there's no expectations around it and you get to just kind of watch the hoops and see who the young guys who might be somebody, like that can be really fun though.
Absolutely. However, when you go 4-8 in clutch games and are tied for the worst clutch record now after with an 8th loss here, that's tough. It is tough. This team is scrappy. They come and they come to play, and it's next man up. They have a bunch of guys out. I mentioned Scotty Barnes went out. Glad that the X-rays came back negative for him, and that this seemingly won't be a long-term injury for him. I hope he can feel his foot again. I don't know. Like, I start trying to feel my foot, and I'm like, hold on.
Oh, you're like that too?
Like, yeah, you're like, what is that? Can I feel my foot? Like, what does that mean? Like,
you see an injury, you're like, that hurt me too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. The Raptors, though, I felt for them in this game because they had it. I feel like in this game, second quarter, they are at the end of the first quarter. The Knicks went on a 19-6 run to end that first quarter, and they built up to a 10-point lead in the second quarter. And the Raptors went on a 13-0 run. They were holding that Knicks offense. They didn't score for like 3 minutes, and it was a lot thanks to Jacoby Walter at 14 points in the first quarter and a half of this game, and that tied his career high because he's a rookie.
I love it. And he's going to get some more opportunity as well with Scotty Barnes being out again. Hopefully it's not for a long time, but you love to see the young guys, the rookies start to flash. And he had, like we said, the best game of his young career so far. Unfortunate play for him at the end of the game. It was unlikely for the Raptors to win with 6 seconds left, being down 5, but he did step out of bounds immediately on that inbound, getting hounded defensively by a very physical Knicks team. But his play was really encouraging tonight. And I think RJ Barrett was as well. His 730-point plus scoring game this season. The Raptors are now, after this loss, 4-3 when he scores at least 30 points. But he had a big game, and his growth paired with Scotty Barnes has been beautiful. I feel like the offense came a lot easier for him when he had Scotty next to him. Second half was a little bit tougher, but he was still able to really try to put the team on his back.
He's just been given a bigger opportunity in Toronto, I think. Like, his numbers across the board have popped. He's been pretty good. His passing has been much better this season, or he's gotten more assists this season because the ball's in his hands more. The Raptors, though, they just got some really bad breaks towards the end of this. With a minute 57 left, Davion Mitchell, who played, I thought, pretty well in this game overall, got a drive on Josh Hart. They were up by 1. Then you get the Mikal Bridges 3, another one where you go, oh, man, that guy shoots 31%. We should leave him open. But then RJ Barrett fouled with a minute 23 left in this game, and Tony Brothers called it a foul on the floor.
Didn't look like it to me.
This call to me, when they called the foul, Like the timing of it, at least if my TV was correct, the foul should have been on the shot because everybody plays until the whistle. And so the whistle goes because the whistle was a little late if it was on the floor. The foul, like letter of the law, did happen before the shot because he grabs him and he's like on the ground and hasn't gone into a shooting motion yet. But then when they called the foul, he was in a shooting motion and already shot it and made it. That would have been a big thing there. Grady Dick misses a 3 with a minute 11 left. That was tough. Then you get an RJ Barrett transition layup to tie it 108. That was massive. And then the double on Brunson we talked about where Cat got the layup. They just left Cat and they didn't. Nobody came over to help. The low man didn't come over to help. That was brutal. Just some mistakes down to the stretch. What would you expect from a young team like this?
You do, and you saw some encouraging things from them. I felt like they were cutting the Knicks to death throughout this game. Like they were getting open on backdoor cuts throughout the game easily. They were able to also set up some really good looks. They just weren't able to pay all of them off. Even on some of those cuts, like they're missing layups, they're missing open threes. Like Grady Dick's performance today, like if he just had a couple of more buckets, this could have been a win for the Raptors. And that's one thing too with the young team, like just getting that consistent play night in and night out. Something that they still have to try to lean on and learn from because you can see like the flashes we've mentioned, they're scrappy. And I think this is the funnest way to be a rebuilding team when you got some guys you can cheer for, you can watch the game, be entertained. It might not get the outcome at the end with the win, but you get an outcome getting closer towards that draft as well.
Yeah, it's like the outcome doesn't matter. It's like, oh, it's just about the process. You mentioned the missed opportunities. Raptors fans, are you ready for a stat from tonight's game?
Oh, yeah. Throw it.
The Raptors shot 23 of 42 at the rim.
So many, and they were good.
54.8%. That's 15th percentile. That's bad. That's like very low. Like 0th is the lowest. That's tough. They did miss a bunch of opportunities at the rim. And I didn't even want to bring up that stat with the Knicks because I don't think it was Knicks defense. Like I think the Raptors just really missed some opportunities there.
Like sometimes they were bothered at the rim, but a lot of them, they were just missing bunnies. And it's like, you got to knock those down. You have to.
Raptors also 17 offensive rebounds, only got 16 second chance points. That hurts you too. When you get those opportunities, you got to capitalize, and they just didn't capitalize on enough of those.
Yeah, they did. And normally when you get that many, I mean, as you can see too, the Raptors shot the ball 26 or 96 times compared to the Knicks 82. So they were able to get a lot of possessions to the point of getting those offensive rebounds, trying to force those turnovers, 15 points off the turnovers for the Raptors. So it's like you're trying to get there, but that's what separates like those young teams. Like you're okay from the really good and the great teams where you can capitalize on the opportunities you create for yourself.
Absolutely. How do you feel about the Raptors' current rebuild? Because they got 23-year-old Scotty Barnes, who's he's made an all-star team, but looking like a piece to build around. If not, a 1, then maybe a 2. Grady Dick's 21 years old. He's looking pretty good this year after not looking like he was going to be anything his first year. Then RJ Barrett's still 24. Emmanuel Quickley's 25. That's not super old either. And then you have this group of like young, interesting players. Jacoby Walter, we mentioned, he's 20. They just drafted him. Ochai Agbaji has come over and been pretty interesting for them.
Great defense,
he's 24. Davion Mitchell, he's 26. I feel like he's constantly 22 though. I don't know. Maybe it's just his baby face, but like I feel like he's younger than he is. And then Sean Woodley's favorite player, Jonathan Mobo, just brings stuff. He is a linebacker playing in the NBA where he just gets rebounds. He plays really stout defense. He stood Luka up on a play the other day when the Mavs played the Raptors. He had 7 rebounds in this game, couple of assists. He doesn't really shoot that well, but he can get you. He can do a bunch of stuff on the court. What do you think about the Raptors rebuild with that group of players?
I think they got some interesting pieces, and the biggest piece for them was figuring out who their franchise guy is. And I think they feel comfortable with that being Scotty Barnes. And I think them using Scotty Barnes, at the moment, I think Scotty Barnes can be it, especially seeing what he's been doing as point guard Scotty Barnes. Like he missed 11 games with the face fracture, and once he came back, he was averaging nearly 22 points a game, 9 rebounds, almost 9 assists. Steal and almost like 1 block over 34 minutes a game. Like he had a career high 14 assists against your Mavericks over the weekend. Like it's coming together for Scotty and is trying to find the pieces around him that work. Like, can RJ Barrett be that, that second guy next to Barnes? Like, there's questions to answer there, but if Barnes can stay healthy, that's the biggest piece for them, is keeping him healthy through the season and seeing what they can do around him and build around him. Because I think he has the talent to be someone you can lean on for your franchise if you pair him with the right talent around him.
It's year 4 for Scotty. He's 23. Is there another leap that can come? Because to me, I think he's still. I think he's still not. I don't know. I don't think he's reached his ceiling, but I think he's the number 2. I think you got to get. I think you're still looking for that number 1 to build around if you want to go far. But I think I would have said the same thing about Lowry and DeRozan back with the Raptors, and they made that work. So that maybe I'm just looking for the Kobe, looking for the Jordan,
like
LeBron,
the generational star.
Yeah, like looking for the Steph Curry, looking for that guy. Maybe that won't happen, but. Yeah, they can build around him. They've got some really good young, interesting pieces. It seems like they're on a really good path, and be interesting to see what they get for some of these other guys that they can trade. Jakob Poeltl's been really important for them, and Bruce Brown maybe too. They can get some stuff for him, and then I'm interested to see where this Raptors rebuild goes. It seems like they've got a good foundation. Speaking of a good foundation, oh, good.
I would agree with that.
Coming up, let's count it up, where we count all the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, including the Heat getting in a squabble about stats, their own stats, and Jared McCain bridging the generation gap in the NBA. Let's talk about that and more coming up.
Count it up.
Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night brought to you by Mint Mobile. Everybody goes to their budget and you start to look through the different lines and you go, all right, where can I save money here? Where can I save money here? I've got something for you. Somewhere where you can save money, where you can take that line item and take it all the way down to $15 a month. That's Mint Mobile. They're here to rescue you with a premium wireless plan starting at just $15 a month. All plans come with a high-speed data and unlimited talks and text plan delivered to the nation's largest 5G network. Use your phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. That's great. You don't have to start over and be like, whose number is this? To every single person that you know. To get this customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnba, mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Big chicken, baby.
Zion Williams and porn star.
Take that for that.
Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up.
It's Counted Up, where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, starting with the Miami Heat. In a win against the Cavs on Sunday, Bam Adebayo and Terry Rozier are both going up for a rebound, and the ball ended up going out of bounds. But you can hear them yelling at each other. Bam says, "You keep effing up my boards," and Terry Rozier says, "I got 9 boards. You got your double-double already. Let me get my SHIT." My question is for you, Camille.
Count it up.
Do you think this is more playful banter between teammates in a win, or concerning talk on an underperforming team? Team.
I think it was playful banter, given that they were up at that time in the game. But I think it says something about the character of the team when you got guys sitting here like, I know. Listen, I want my stats.
I got 9 boards.
I got 9. You know what that means?
9 boards to Terry Rozier. Like, which team is looking at? I mean, did he just want the double-double? I don't know why he was
crashing. He was trying to get it. You heard him. You heard him, Nick. He was just saying he was counting them. He was counting them up.
He was counting up. That's right.
See?
The way Terry Rozier though turned around after he yelled at Bam though makes me think that this isn't like just playful banter, because you think they would laugh back and forth at each other or something.
Hey, listen, maybe it's something, one of those things where it's like, I've been irritated with you all game. So you don't need to be down here, Terry. What are you doing? I got this. And Terry's like, man, look, you see what I'm doing now?
Oh, you think Bam saw him coming in for the rebound and said, "Put it in reverse, Terry"?
Absolutely.
One of the greatest videos of all time.
It truly
Put
is.
it in reverse, Terry.
It truly is.
Last week, Jared McCain starts filming a TikTok dance to Drake's Rich Baby Daddy in the Sixers locker room, leaving Kyle Lowry bewildered. You have to watch Kyle Lowry's face if you haven't seen it by now. My question is,
Count it up.
on a scale of I'd start dancing with Jared McCain to Kyle Lowry, what would your response be if Jared McCain came up to you and put you in a video like that?
I'd probably be closer to the Kyle Lowry, where it's one of those things of like, wait, what's happening? Like right now, I don't understand what's happening. You got a phone out. I don't know if this is being live. I don't know who's viewing this. I don't know what's happening. So I got to kind of protect what I'm doing, because I don't know exactly where this is going right now.
The look on Lowry's face is like a generation gap look, where you can just tell like, man, if I had done this in front of Kawhi, if I had done this in front of, who did he play with on the Grizzlies? He played on the Grizzlies forever ago. Like if I had done this against Zebo.
Like a different generation, a complete different generation. The Memphis teams wouldn't go for that. Like, they would have smacked the phone out of his hand. I think
Who
Zebo
was on
there
his
during
Memphis
that
team?
time.
His Memphis team when he was a rookie was Pau Gasol, Chucky Atkins, Rudy Gay, Hakeem Warwick. He's even older than the Grit and Grind Grizzlies. That's wild. The next his second year, yeah, still. Oh, Mike Conley was on that one, so maybe we'll count
Okay.
that. Yeah, if I had done this in front of Rudy Gay, no, I don't know who would. I don't know who would have been that. So funny. I think I would have danced with Jared McCain. But
Immediately, or would it have taken you a second to be like, wait?
Well, first of all, I'm in on all the Jared McCain lore, like from college. I'm 2 days into college. I'm 3 months left behind, or whatever the hell it is. Like I'm in, so I'd be with him. Oh man, Sixers Joel Embiid set to be disqualified from NBA awards for a second straight season after missing some more games. He's just had the season from hell again. He was drafted in 2014, so 10 years ago. He has played 438 career games. And my count up is not a question. It's just a statement.
Count it up.
There are 12 players from the 2017 draft that have played more games than Joel Embiid. There are 2 players from the 2018 draft that have played more games than Joel Embiid. 4 years after. They both played tonight. Who are they?
You
2018
said
draft.
2018 draft. Is OG one?
No.
I know it's not RJ. I think RJ was 19.
2018 draft. Luka went up top. That was Ayton, Trae Young.
See, you stumped me on that one. My draft. I can't remember the draft. I was sitting here like, who was in that draft?
Mikal Bridges, the Iron Man, 497 games.
Of course.
4 less years than Embiid. He's already played like 60 more games than him. That's almost the whole season. That's wild. And Jalen Brunson, 445 games played. He's played more games than Embiid and drafted 4 years after him. It's just a wild stat that I was like, that's
I see why Embiid saying how disappointing all of this is. Like that's tough. That's tough.
Check the bank account. Check the MVP trophy. I mean, what else are you going to get out of this?
He got one of them, so I mean, he got something. He's leaving here with something.
This one is personal to me.
Okay.
Since November 25th, 7 Mavericks have been listed on the injury report with illness, and it's just been listed as illness, which is hilarious to me. Not a specific, just illness, which is funny. 5 have missed at least part of a game, and PJ Washington may miss this game against the Thunder here. And it came after the Mavericks played against the Heat when Jimmy Butler was questionable before the game with an illness, then ended up playing. My question is, did Jimmy Butler give the plague to the Dallas Mavericks? Do you believe this?
I believe that playing a game when you're sick is an easy way to pass along the germs. So, like, I don't know if that was part of Jimmy's plan. He's like, you know what? I'm trying to get the edge on my competition in all ways. So I'm doing what I got to do to make sure we can get a win.
The Heat fans all say that Embiid gave Jimmy Butler the illness because the game before Embiid was sick and played, and so it all comes back to Embiid apparently. But yeah, Jimmy Butler I think gave the Mavs this because this plague has gone on. I mean, they played the Heat a while ago, weeks ago, and it's still running through this team.
Oof.
Last thing we'll do here: the NBA Cup starts tomorrow. The Mavs will play the Thunder. I did a breakdown with Rylan Stiles, Locked on Thunder. We did a crossover previewing this game, so you can go check that out. If PJ Washington doesn't play, that's really interesting. He's been their advantage against the Thunder. He's destroyed the Thunder. Go back to the game they played earlier this season when Luka didn't play. PJ had 27 points, 17 boards. He was absolutely massive, so that's what I'm watching in the Mavs game against the Thunder, but this is a good measuring stick for them. The Mavs have not played the Thunder with Isaiah Hartenstein yet, or Alex Caruso, and so that'll be interesting to see how the Mavs ball handlers and the Mavs bigs react to that. For the Bucks, they're playing the Orlando Magic, and they don't have their top 2 players. What are you watching in this Cup game? Locked on Bucks host Camille Davis.
Trying to see what that Magic defense is going to do still. Even without their top scorers, we know that Magic team leans in on defense. So I want to see how the Bucks combat that because we've seen Dame in some situations where he's getting trapped a lot, getting pressured a lot. And I want to see how the Bucks combat that and how Chris Middleton can alleviate that for them as well. Plus, seeing if the Bucks can shore up in some of the areas where the Magic are strong, where the Bucks happen to be weak. The Magic love crashing those offensive boards. They love rebounding. Bucks have to be tight there. So looking to see that matchup. And then honestly, it did a crossover episode as well with Locked On Magic that's airing tomorrow. So One of those questions of how do they stop Giannis? What do they do with Giannis on this team? So a lot to watch defensively for that Magic team and seeing how they can combat what the Bucks have building right now.
The next games will be Knicks, Hawks, and Rockets, Warriors. Those will be good ones. So go check out those shows. We got Locked On Show for every single NBA team in the NBA. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA Game Night. Go listen to Locked On NBA with Matt Moore, Hayes, and Doug Branson. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA. Boom.
You're